Smart testing refers to an approach that's been developed from the pilot asymptomatic testing that's been happening in Liverpool. Asymptomatic testing is testing for COVID amongst people who don't have the symptoms such as a cough, temperature or loss of sense or smell or taste. It uses the same swab test that we use in the other testing sites for people who do have symptoms. But the lateral flow test that's used to find out whether someone has the virus can actually be done on the same site, and we get the results back in around half an hour. We'll be offering this test across the whole of Sefton, and I'd encourage people to come along for a test, not just once, but on a repeat basis to see if they have COVID. The important thing to remember is that smart testing is for people without symptoms. Please don't come along to these sites if you have symptoms or if you have tested positive for COVID in the last 90 days. The rollout of smart testing is happening across the Liverpool City region, and in many ways it's similar to the pilot in Liverpool. It's not going to be exactly the same, it's not going to be on the same scale as Liverpool, and that's because we've been very lucky to be able to learn from the Liverpool experience, and so our testing is actually going to be a bit more targeted. Anyone without symptoms can come along to be tested, but we'd especially encourage those people who may be, because of their work or setting, they might be in a higher risk of exposure to the virus. So that could be people who are working in frontline services, either in the council or in schools or in emergency services, or it might be people who are working with the public in shops and retail, for example. Once we have the systems for testing up and running, we'll also try to work with vulnerable workplaces to see if we can come out and test staff and, where it's appropriate, test service users as well. Smart testing will help us find more people with COVID. It'll be those people who don't have symptoms but do have the virus. And if we can find these people early, we can help them avoid passing the virus on to other people. This is really important for carers and for others who work with vulnerable people. If you find out that you're positive, it means you can take steps to self-isolate, let your colleagues know, and prevent passing the virus on to vulnerable people in your care. It also means that you're less likely to pass it on without knowing to your family and loved ones. And we may even be able to identify particular areas where we didn't know the virus was spreading. Smart testing alone won't get rid of COVID, so it's really important to follow the current advice to not mix with other households indoors, either at home or in pubs or restaurants, to keep using face coverings in shops and public transport and communal areas in schools, for example, and keep washing hands and keep that 2-metre distance. All of that together, along with testing, will help reduce the level of the virus and help us reduce all the opportunities that the virus has to spread. We've had support from the military in setting up our dedicated smart testing sites, and we've got 3 at the moment: Bootle Leisure Centre, Splash World in Southport and Aintree Racecourse. Bootle Leisure Centre and Splash World will be opening this week, and Aintree Racecourse will open at the end of the week on Friday the 10th of December. Initially, it'll be the military who man and operate the testing sites, but very quickly those sites will be handed over to a dedicated team of staff recruited by the council. If you get a positive result at the smart testing site, we need to treat this in the same way as we would anyone who develops coronavirus symptoms, so a raised temperature, persistent cough or a loss of taste or smell. So you need to self-isolate and you need to arrange to have another test at a regular national testing site here in Sefton. You can do that by calling 119 or visit www.nhs.uk.coronavirus to book a test. The test is to confirm that you do have the virus. If the test comes back positive, you will be contacted by the National Test and Trace system and advised on the length of time you need to isolate. If it comes back negative, you'll be able to stop isolating. And this is because The PCR test used on the national sites is very sensitive, and we take this as our gold standard test. We expect smart testing to be with us for the next few months at least. We obviously need to work with our partners and the residents of Sefton to make sure that sites are open at the right times, are easy for people to get to, and we'll also look to develop pop-up or mobile testing that can reach out to those who might need help to take part in testing.